We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It's Tuesday. Not a ton happened yesterday, but yesterday it was the second anniversary of overturning Roe v. Wade. A sad day for a lot of people, a dangerous day for women in this country. We'll be talking about that in a moment. But I should tell you up front that this is going to be one of those combination podcasts. It's going to be a Rational Boomer podcast, as always, but I'm also going to do it while doing a live on TikTok. I enjoy doing those because a lot of people get a chance to interact. So, what you'll be hearing is what's recorded from the TikTok live. Now, I'm going to go live right now. I'm not sure how long it'll take to get people into the mix. So, I'm here with you now. Up until that time, we start seeing some people. Um, this is kind of like a reading the emails on acid. They're coming fast and furious, and I try to address as many as I can. And it's the same effect. People watching or listening get a chance to participate. And as I've told you so many times before, participation from the audience is absolutely crucial because we all have got smart minds. We've all got different ideas and different perceptions. So it's important that we hear those too. Okay, we're starting to get some people on TikTok. Now, on this TikTok live, I haven't done a lot of TikTok lives in my time because of Trumplafucks coming in and messing things up. Just give you a heads up before we do that. Um, um, if you run into Trumplafucks out there and they're trying to start something, just ignore them. Just ignore them. Don't engage with them because it just causes more problems. They can't comprehend truth or facts, so there's no point in talking to them, and they could ultimately get butthurt and then complain to Daddy TikTok and get this whole thing taken down. Oh, Great Captain is here. I tricked you again. I didn't tell you I was coming. Great Captain's always on top of it. He's one of the moderators, and he'll be watching what's going on. And when it gets too rough and too many coming through, we'll just shut things down. We'll maybe go for about an hour in this situation. So let's get to some of the question. Oscar says, you, sir, are just amazing and do a great job for all your videos and podcasts. Well, I'm not really amazing. I just talk a lot. I don't even necessarily talk with quality. I talk a lot. And so I've got the quantity aspect of it working for me. What's up with the immunity case? Tired of waiting? Well, that immunity case could be decided this week. The Supreme Court has really till the first week of July. They're going to be coming out with more decisions Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week. They've got 15 left, and it could be within that group of decisions. It'll be between now and possibly next week, and we will have that information soon enough. All right. Let's see here. Hello from Massachusetts. Hey, Massachusetts. Love Boston. Love a lot of towns in Massachusetts. Can't wait to get back there. I want you to know on TikTok too that while we're doing this, I'm also recording it for the Rational Boomer podcast. If you don't listen to the Rational Boomer podcast, I encourage you to do that. We've got a show that we do every night. I read a lot of emails. I have listeners as guests. Sometimes it's just me, but we always talk about what happened the day before. So if I refer to yesterday and you're here on TikTok live now and it really was today, I'll make that mistake, but that's all right. Lucetta Knight says, so happy to see trolls will be taken care of. If only Trump could be as easily. Well, it's maybe not as easy, but Donald Trump's time is short. Things aren't working well for Donald Trump. He's in rough shape. This debate that's coming up Thursday, this is a lose-lose situation for him. If he chickens out, his ego will be hurt. If he shows up, he will be absolutely decimated. He'll make excuses afterwards, but everybody will see what happened in this debate. And here's what you have to understand. This debate will be aired on all the networks. So it won't just be lefties or righties that are seeing this. Everybody's going to get a chance to see this. It's not going to be edited because it's live. So Fox News and OAN won't be able to do the things they normally do. The hard, raw truth will be on that debate, and there'll be a lot of people watching that are Trump followers that may have second thoughts when it's all said and done. Dennis the Menace says, I wish I were a therapist because after Trump loses, I could get rich from the meltdowns. Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be a lot of mental breakdowns. There's a lot of emotionally fragile people out there. Molly said, saw vids of Biden freezing. Are they real? Makes me nervous. No, these videos that you're seeing of Joe Biden are edited or cropped. It's all bullshit. Most of what you hear about Joe Biden that's negative is coming directly from the Republican Party. They throw it into the narrative and bounces around for a while, and people start believing it. But the fact of the matter is don't believe that shit. That's not true. We'll be able to see very clearly who is having problems and who isn't having problems when it comes to Thursday night's debate. Dolphin says, hi, it's a pleasure to meet you. Hi from Michigan. Hey, Dolphin. Glad to meet you too. Molly, we got a couple of people say, yeah, the great captain said they're not real. He's absolutely right. Rain says, hello from Nashville, Tennessee. That's the one place I haven't been as yet, and I'm hoping to get down there. That sounds like a great place. Carl from Iowa, you're awesome. You too. Love the Iowa folks. I know you got a lot of red motherfuckers down there, but if you listen to the Rational Boomer podcast, we've got Eric that comes on, a younger guy. He's from Iowa. He's a blue dot amongst a bunch of red bastards. But Oscar says, need a Studio B report. Yeah, you're right. I haven't got a chance to get out there on my own. My wife would prefer if I'm out there with her not to interrupt the trip by me talking, but you're right. For those that don't know, I live on a lake in Minnesota. I have a small pontoon boat, and sometimes I'll go out into the bay and do a video, and I call that Studio B. Thank you. Blue Dot in Missouri. Misfit says, hey, Boom. Hey, how you doing? Hello from Connecticut. Do you think he'll show up? You know, maybe a week ago, I thought he wouldn't. And I think he still might bail on it. He's kind of in a tough situation. You can see he's already making excuses. Oh, this is a rigged debate. This is a fake debate. Well, that motherfucker is the one that asked for the debate. It wasn't Joe Biden, it was him. But now he's realizing that he's in trouble. I tell you what happened there. Donald Trump um, is a bully. And when you're a bully at the core, you are a coward. What bullies do is they walk up to you, make a threat, try to scare you. And if you back down, then they win. That's how they win. They have no substance. They aren't tough, but they try to scare you. And if you get scared, they win. If they don't get scared, like Joe Biden didn't get scared, he said, sure, I'll do it. Now they're fucked. They really don't have the tools to fight. They made the threat didn't work, and now they either have to come through with it or run away like a pussy ass bitch. I don't know what he'll do. I hope he shows up because that will put a lot of people that love Donald Trump in a different mindset. Was Trump not preparing at all? He probably says that, but I think he's probably preparing. But here's the deal. Somebody once said, well, if Donald Trump just stays calm, it'll be all right. Well, the fact of the matter is, him being calm is only part of it. He's got to address overturning Roe v. Wade. He's got to address January 6th. He's got to address 34 felony convictions. Now, what I thought that Joe Biden should do actually is to stay calm, be very direct, but occasionally throw in these digs like 34 convictions, overturning Roe v. Wade. And this will get Donald Trump a little unhinged. He doesn't like to be called out or made fun of. So if you just do it in drips and drabs, he will eventually lose his shit. As much as he might be training to stay calm, he won't be able to do it. That's not just in his nature. Annie B says, and all without a teleprompter. Yeah, that's a big deal. Donald Trump is not good when he's speaking extemporaneously off the top of his head. It doesn't go very well. Think about all the rallies he's done. If he's on a teleprompter or he's reading a speech, if he can keep focused on that, he can sound okay. but he still has all these bad decisions and criminality that he has to address. But he's going to have to walk in there informationally naked. He's going to have no papers. He's going to have no teleprompter, and he's going to have to just use his brain. And we both know that there isn't much left of that brain. So that doesn't bode well for him. Wood says he has never once told any about any policies. All he does is show up at rallies and talk nonstop. Excuse me, and that's true. And in fact, the people coming out, the crowds at his rallies are starting to dwindle. They're not doing well. There was a rally recently in Pennsylvania. Joe Biden did a rally in the same spot. It held 10,000 people. Joe Biden sold it out. But when Donald Trump was there a few days ago, he didn't even fill the bottom bowl. He got 4 or 5,000 people coming to this thing, and the whole top bowl was shut down. Nobody was there. Um, Sadie says they pay people to attend. Yeah, they actually do. How bad is that? Is if you have to pay people to attend? I don't know how many they pay, but they do pay people. We know that for a fact because those people have come forward. Um, let's see here. Dub says, "Love your posts. Keep them coming." Oh yeah, I'm not quitting anytime soon. I'm getting old, but obviously I still have some energy and I still have some fight in me. I think it's important we get through this election and get this situation done and be done with Donald Trump. Put the whole MAGA thing affair to bed and move on because we've got a lot of work after they're gone. Just because we get rid of them doesn't mean we're done. TJ the plumber says, "Hi, Mike." Hey, TJ, good to see you. Jen says, "Oh my first live. Hello, my fellow Minnesotan." Well, you're a Minnesotan too. Cool. I appreciate it. I appreciate you joining me. It's always fun to do these lives as long as the Trumplefucks don't come in and make a mess of it. But we have great captain and some others out there, moderators that are trying to keep us protected, and I appreciate that. Timothy Stryker, I finally saw the Goldwater case where he was inept. Then he sued and he won. Any thoughts? I'm not sure what you're referring to there. You may have to explain it a little more. Goldwater. I mean, that goes back to the 60s. I'm, and I was born in 1960. Copperhead says we need more soldiers to spread the word about Trump. Yeah, and that's really the essence of why I do the rational boomer thing. I'm not strong enough or powerful enough or have enough clout to do this on my own. So I thought if I come on and do the rational boomer stuff, whether it be in the podcast or the TikToks, I would get people thinking and talking, and then they would get people thinking and talking and so forth, and kind of a groundswell, a grassroots type thing. But you're right. We all need to talk about this. We all need to deal with this. I want to make a point too. One of the things I did when I started TikToks, I did it because I wanted to light a fire under the old people. When I say old people, I mean people like me, 60, 64, 65, what have you. Because a lot of times what happens when you get to a certain age, the younger people will say, "Oh, you're just old. We'll push you aside. Get out of the way. Let us handle this," as if we don't have any power or control. And I don't begrudge them that because we did that to our parents, our parents did it to their parents, and so on. But the fact of the matter is, you have to understand this about baby boomers and Gen Xers for that matter, but baby boomers, as much as we're old and in the late stages of our life, something they don't probably know, there are as many baby boomers as there are millennials, about 75 million baby boomers. That's a pretty good voting block. That's a pretty powerful voting block. Now, I know a lot of folks will say, shit, all these baby boomers, they're going to vote for Joe or Donald Trump. That's just not true. In fact, there was a poll out recently that said that baby boomers voted more for Joe Biden by 15% than they did Donald Trump. So you're absolutely right. We need to be out there. We need to be talking. We need to be telling other people. And we need to push the message. It really shouldn't be that hard. For as bad as Donald Trump has been and as bad and negative for this country as the Republicans have been, it shouldn't be a hard sell. And I think it's not as hard a sell as the media is saying. They're just trying to keep it even. So the fight looks tough and they get people continuing to come and watch their programs. Blue Jean Baby Queen, the balance of the polls is terrifying. I wish I was as confident of you. Well, Blue Jean, I'm going to tell you this, and I've told everybody this. Why are you believing in the polls? Take a look at the history. 2016, the polls said Hillary Clinton would win. 2020, the polls said Donald Trump would win. In 2022, the polls said there would be a red wave. They've been wrong every time. Here's what you have to understand about polls. We don't know who's funding them. We don't know what their agenda is. We don't know the questions they're asking or who they're asking them to. We don't know what they're doing with the data after they have it. So there isn't much credibility in those polls, and to believe them is silly. I don't know why the media reports them because they're ridiculous and they're notoriously wrong. I've always said I've always said that polls aren't a good barometer. I think that fundraising is. Who's collecting the most money? And the fact of the matter is, Joe Biden has been beating Donald Trump by double. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, this last month he got 141 million. Did he? We haven't been verified of that as yet. You remember back when Joe Biden raised $25 million and it was a record, right? 2 days later, Donald Trump comes out and says, hey, I fundraised $50 million. Everybody says, oh my God. Then later in the month, it wasn't quite as heavily reported, but we found out it was all bullshit. It was absolutely bullshit. There were promises made, but no actual money was injected into his campaign. So when he tells me he got 20 million here or 100 million here, I don't buy that shit until I see proof. And another thing to consider, Joe Biden is spending $50 million in advertising in the swing states. How much is Donald Trump spending? Nothing. If you had all this money and you're running for president, wouldn't you put money into advertising? He doesn't have the fucking money. It's all bullshit. Um, Linda Chambers says, boomers vote for our future and your children and grandchildren and great grandchildren futures. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I've told people before, as an old man, um, regardless of who becomes president, my life is pretty set over the next 20 years if I live that long. Nothing's really going to change for me, but I have kids and I have grandkids, and I don't want to be leaving this plane and leaving it in a mess for my kids and my grandkids to have to deal with. So, what we do here on the Rational Boomer podcast is more for the younger generations. We've got the experience and the knowledge and the money. So let's fight like hell and kick kick these bastards' ass. Ellen's Mellon says, I wish Jimmy Kimmel would give you a spot on the show. You two would be a riot together. Thank you very much. So, I would actually do that. People have said, what if you went on CNN or MSNBC? They don't want me on there. They don't want to hear what I have to say. They don't want to hear the fact that I suggest that the media, the left side media, is largely responsible for Donald Trump becoming president. People say, what do you mean? Well, when Donald Trump came down those stairs, he wasn't a serious candidate for president. He sure the fuck wasn't. But he became such a train wreck, a shit show. The left side media said, hey, this is good TV. Let's put him on. We'll make money. So they put him on and they put him on. And as they kept giving him free airtime, he became more credible. More people heard him. They liked him because he was funny or he told the truth, which he never does. So they're as responsible for Donald Trump becoming president. I don't think they'd like that. It'd be kind of fun to mess around with Jimmy Kimmel, though. I do like that guy. All right. What else we got here? Uh, well, BC says, so true. The left media did make Trump. Yeah, there's no question about that. I mean, the right media did too, but you expect them to do that. The left media basically said, our bottom line and our ratings are more important than the future of this country. And they still kind of do it now, by reporting the polls that make no sense and all the bullshit that they do. It's frightening. TJ the plumber says, I want to see pics of Steve Bannon in jail. Yeah, that greasy son of a bitch. He's tried every way to stay out of jail, but it ain't working. Nah, it ain't working. Outhouse 1018 says Trump toxic. I could easily voted Republican or Democrat, but never Trump. Sadru says the blue wave is coming November 5th, 2024. You're absolutely right. I was talking to somebody. I don't think they're a Trumper, but they're certainly conservative and they're religious. And I actually had a good conversation with him. There was no argument about things. He would say something, I would say something, and he made some good points, but I think he made a mistake. He's talking about the economy and how something might happen before the election, and that could affect the election. I said, really? Those same people were telling us that there was going to be a recession, and there's no recession. These are Republicans that are hoping against hope something bad happens to Joe Biden's economy or the country so Donald Trump can win. And I said, let's be honest. That's a sad thing if that's all you got. You can't win it on policy. You can't win it on your platform because you don't fucking have one. They're hoping something bad happens. And this is why the Republicans consistently just try to make Joe look bad. They don't come up with better ideas. They don't do anything for the country. They're just trying to make Joe Biden look bad. Well, how can you make Joe Biden look worse than a guy who's been impeached twice, convicted of 34 felony charges, mounted a coup against this country, and overturned Roe v. Wade? There ain't much worse than that. Somebody asked me about what I think about Project 2025. Honestly, I don't think about it. I get tired of hearing about it. Everybody goes, oh, it's terrifying. We're reading it. Yeah, that's what it's intended to do. Project 2025 doesn't become a thing unless Donald Trump gets elected. And that's only if they also get the majority in the House and the Senate. It's not a real threat at this point because Donald Trump can't win. The reason I don't talk about it much is because it's nothing but more than fear mongering. They want you scared. That's what bullies do. They want you scared. And I'm not going to scare people with Project 2025, especially if I think it's not going to happen. So, do you think Trump will serve time for his convictions? I think it's a distinct possibility. If it was a normal situation, he had one or two convictions and he behaved himself, probably not. He's got 34 convictions. He showed disdain and disrespect for the court, the judge, the jury, and the witnesses, not to mention the prosecution. He violated the gag order 13 times. I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up spending some time in jail. It's not going to be years, maybe a year, 18 months, something like that. And then he'll appeal it and he'll be out of jail up until that time. What I'm hoping is that because he violated those gag orders and the judge said, I'm going to set that aside until later, that he'll say, okay, you're sentenced to this with regards to the 34 felony charges, but you broke the gag order, so we're going to put you in the slam for a couple of days just to give you an idea what it's like. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I hope so. Jay Daniel says, hey, Boomer, thank you for your info and insights. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. Do you think the documents case will get kicked to 2025? No, I think it'll come before then. Um, Honestly, I think we're in the late stages of getting rid of Aileen Cannon. She's starting to get cornered now. She has to make a decision on something. It will immediately be sent to the 11th Circuit. And I think the 11th Circuit is getting tired of her shit too. You remember how this came out about these judges told her to recuse early on in the case? They wouldn't have released that information unless they were getting tired of the shit. That was a shot across the bow. That was a threat. You better get it straight, otherwise we're coming for you. There's no way they don't get her recused. She's made too many mistakes, either ineptitude or just bias or corruption. I don't know what it is, but I think we might get that going before 2025. Which way do you want the Supreme Court to rule on Trump getting immunity? Well, I hope they have enough sense to just come out and say this is fucking ridiculous. No immunity. That's what they should do. I mean, you think about this. This is the highest court in the land. They get this question put to him. It's a ridiculous question. They should have never taken it up. But they say, yeah, we'll talk about this. And then they delayed it for 6 months. They're already in Donald Trump's pocket. But they can't give Donald Trump complete immunity because then they give Joe Biden complete immunity. So then apparently Joe Biden can send SEAL Team 6 and shoot Joe Biden or Donald Trump. It's all ridiculous. No, they're not going to get it. Now, if they do send it back to the lower court, I find this interesting. They gave it to the high court to make a decision. They wasted 6 or 7 months trying to come up with that decision. And then they're honestly going to say, well, let's send it back to the lower court. Honestly, you're the highest court in the land and you couldn't come up with a decision on something you shouldn't even taken up? Yeah, it's a mess. We've got a problem with the Supreme Court that we've got to straighten out as soon as the Democrats take control. I hope we get younger voters. Maybe Taylor Swift will help with that. Yeah, I think Taylor Swift will help with that. And I think it bugs the shit out of Donald Trump and the Republicans. Donald Trump keeps referring to Taylor Swift. I know it's on his mind and he's worried about it. I'm not so worried about the younger voters. Everybody says, what about Israel? Well, you've got millennials and Gen Zs. What do you think they're more concerned about? Are they more concerned about Israel or are they more concerned about overturning Roe v. Wade? I think what you're hearing about Israel and all these young people fighting against it, again, is just Republican narrative. It's just bullshit being thrown out there. Somebody says stack the courts. Yeah, we definitely have to do something with the courts. Lady Gaga supporting Joe Biden. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. She's a liberal, very talented lady too. Love hearing that. Term limits in the Supreme Court, I think that goes without question. I mean, here's the thing. The reason they were given lifetime appointments so they could avoid getting too political. They wouldn't have to run for reelection or anything like that. Well, how much more political can they get than what they are now? So that whole strategy isn't working. So you might as well give them term limits. Somebody said they think Taylor Swift is going to endorse Joe Biden in October. That would be cool. I don't know that that's true, but I would hope so. I'm really concerned about the purple to yellow ratio in my Fruit Loops. Yeah, I can understand that, but get the generic brand. Maybe you'll come up better with that. Do you think Trump is going to win? No, Trump is not going to win. Trump is easily the worst presidential candidate in the history of the country. How can I say that? I'll just say impeached twice, 34 felony convictions, led an insurrection, attempted coup of this country, and overturned Roe v. Wade, which is supported by 75% of the country. Tell me anywhere in that mix that Donald Trump wins. Black Star Millionaire, I love listening to you. You serve it straight up, no chaser. Thank you. Thank you very much. What are your thoughts? I feel Trump will do something shady with the Electoral College. Yeah, that's what people keep saying. Well, I'm worried he'll cheat. Of course he will cheat. He cheated in 2020, remember? How'd that go? He failed. He failed. The only difference about 2020 when he cheated was he was the president. He had control of the Congress, the DOJ, the Supreme Court. He had control and he still failed. So what makes you think he's not going to cheat? Of course he's going to cheat, but he's already done this. We already know what the fuck is going on. So when he cheats, he's not going to be successful. Joe Biden's the president. Democrats control the Senate. It's not going to happen. Well, he's going to cheat, but it's not going to have an effect. Thank God for that. He's not going to win. No, he's not going to win. I always ask people will say to me, I think he might win. Oh, yeah? Tell me how. What's the data? What are the facts that tell you he's going to win? There are none. It's all emotions. It's all a reaction. Well, I heard it on the news. Fuck the news. The news has been lying to us for 8 fucking years, if not longer. Take a look at the facts. Like I said, 34 felony convictions, 2 impeachments, attempted a coup on his own country, and he overturned Roe v. Wade, which is supported by 75% of the country. Just those 4 things. Let's just go with Roe v. Wade. He overturned Roe v. Wade. 75% of the country supports it. Tell me how you win an election with just that one point. You need to say Trump ain't going to win, but we have vote. Yeah, you don't have enough of them. Here's the thing. This is the interesting thing about this is that um, Republicans have fewer voters than Democrats. In order for a Republican to win, they need a unified Republican Party. And we know there is no unified Republican Party. There are many Republicans that have said, I'll never vote for Donald Trump again. They also need independents. And we know that at least 50% of the independents said, we will never vote for Donald Trump. You may have votes, but you don't have enough. Vincent Sherrod says, you're a real deal homie. Thank you. Thank you. Great Captain says, reminder, don't respond to trolls, ignore them like everyone else in their lives. If mom and dad wouldn't talk to them, why should we? It's all fake polls that GOP floods the system with. Yeah, it's the polls. I don't even worry about them. They've been proven wrong so many times. I don't even care. Jaden Skinner says, Texas is going to turn blue. Well, I tell you what, if that happens, Donald Trump doesn't have a prayer. I don't know enough about it to know if that's possible, but I got my fingers crossed. I'm thinking Florida could turn blue too, because you've got this abortion ban thing as a question on the ballot. That's going to bring a lot of people out, a lot of Democrats. So I hope you're right. I don't know that it's true. I don't know enough about Texas. Do you think Trump will participate in the debate? I think he might because his ego is so bad. I thought he would bail from it, and I suppose he could still do that. But Donald Trump is delusional. He thinks he's a genius. He thinks he's quite the orator. And as much as people around him might say, don't do this, this is going to fucking kill you, he will push even harder to do it. It's like him wanting to testify in court. Fortunately, they talked him out of it, but they may not be able to talk him out of this debate, especially since he asked for it in the first place. He can't not go and look like a pussy without looking like a pussy ass bitch, and that is terrifying to Donald Trump. Let's see here. I agree on Florida. I live here as a Democrat. God damn, I hope we're right. If Joe Biden won Florida or Texas or both of them, Trump has um, no way to win. What do you think about Trump requesting Joe Biden to take a drug test beforehand? Well, I think it's just another excuse. And while we're on the topic, why did Donald Trump refuse to take a drug test when he's required to do it before he went to see the probationary officer? I think Donald Trump should take the drug test. And frankly, we know he does a lot of Adderall, maybe a little cocaine. You can see it in his behavior. You don't see it in Joe's behavior. The whole thing is just chaos and smoke and mirrors that he has to put up because he's going to get his ass kicked in the debate. When they ask Trump questions, his answer is going to be a potato salad of answers. Donald Trump doesn't answer questions. He goes off on tangents talking about Hannibal Lecter or sharks or batteries or whatever the fuck. Yeah, it's going to be a shit show for him, even if he stays calm. What do you think about Joe dropping out? Now, this is another thing that the Republicans are putting out. Oh, the Democrats are trying to take Joe Biden out. No, they're fucking not. That's ridiculous. Joe Biden's got a good track record. He beat Donald Trump last time. He's going to beat Donald Trump again. He may not be the prime candidate because he's old, but he's what we've got. Here's what we need to do. We need to get Joe Biden, win the election, and Then after that, the young people can take over and figure out what they've got to do. I've told this to young people before. You may not like Joe Biden, but in order to get to where you want to go, you got to have Joe Biden because at least you'll have the opportunity in 2028 and going forward. If you vote for Donald Trump, that right will be taken away from you and you will do whatever they tell you. So you may not like it, but you can't get everything all at once when you want it. So sometimes you got to take the road less traveled, do what you need to do to get to where you want to be. All right, let's see here. Biden will not drop out, but Democrats need to do a better job at declaring their accomplishments. Yeah, we need to talk about that more. The accomplishments of Joe Biden are truly amazing. In fact, his accomplishments might be the biggest amount of accomplishments of any president in their first 4 years. Uh, is it true a felon can't get electoral vote in Florida or New York, or is this just a state rule? Um, Here's the deal with the felony. It's not about getting, it's about being able to vote. And that Florida, New York thing is weird. Florida, you're not allowed to vote in New York if you're in jail. But if you're not in jail, even though you're convicted, you can vote. Now, Florida has a more stringent law, but if he's convicted in New York, they'll go by New York's law. So he may still be able to vote, and he certainly can run. Um, let's see here. Oh, what am I doing here? Okay, there we go. I lost the comments there for a second. Somebody says the mods are doing great tonight. Yes, they do a great job every time, and I appreciate it. They don't have to do it; they do it of their own volition, and they do a wonderful job. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. They need them out several ways, and young people do not watch TV nor many other institutions. Yeah, young people get their news different ways, like right here on TikTok. Now, I don't know that they're watching me necessarily, but Harry Sisson and some of these younger kids are got a pretty big crowd and they appeal to young people. Common sense, I don't think the U.S. will bring a felon in the White House. Yeah, well, he's not going to have a chance. Fortune 5 CEOs stating on CNBC today they won't vote for Trump. That's the interesting thing about Donald Trump. He claims big business is behind him, and that's not true. Big business doesn't support him. We know he had a meeting with CEOs that might be bending toward Donald Trump, but by the time they got out of that meeting, they go, "What the fuck was that? I'm not voting for that clown." It's been reported that the top Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 CEOs will not vote for Donald Trump. The only wealthy people that will vote for Donald Trump are kind of the ultra wealthy, like Elon Musk or some of these others that have billions of dollars. And the reason they're going to vote for him isn't about the economy, because frankly, the economy is doing great for them. The stock market is wonderful. What they want to be able to do is have somebody in the Oval Office that's kind of their puppet, or at least a direct line to them, so they have some power. What these ultra rich people want isn't about money. They got all the fucking money in the world. What they want is power, and that's why they support Donald Trump. Do you think there'll be violence when Trump loses? Fuck no. No. They'd like you to think that, but let me put it to you this way. They said, "Oh boy, don't you indict Donald Trump, there's going to be trouble." There was no trouble. Don't you go to trial with Donald Trump, there's going to be trouble. No trouble. Oh, don't you dare convict him. Oh, there's going to be a civil war. There's going to be all kinds of problems. He got convicted 34 times. What happened? Fucking nothing. A large portion of the violent Trumplafucks are already in jail or convicted. The rest of them are afraid to uh, get arrested and put in jail. And besides, they're in a much different situation now than they were in January 6th. They had Donald Trump as president to protect him. They had the DOJ protecting them. And now Joe Biden is the president. And if they try some kind of insurrection or something along those lines again, guess what's going to happen? Unlike Donald Trump, Joe Biden will bring in the National Guard. And if they don't back off, it's going to be a problem for the Trumplafucks. They know this, and they're cowards, as I've told you. So they're not coming. Um, Somebody said the Panthers, they won the Stanley Cup. Is that true? I know it was Florida and the Oilers, and I know it was the seventh game. I hadn't heard what happened, so hopefully you're right, and we can pass that along. Do you think Hunter B will get jail time? No, I don't think he'll get jail time. I think that let's see here. I think the J6 folks were a reality check for them. Yeah, definitely. They thought they'd get away with it. They thought they'd get pardoned, and guess what? They fucking didn't. Somebody else saying the Panther wins. So congratulations to Florida for winning the Stanley Cup. Mike, mass reporting, just keep that in consideration. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I'd like to get this to an hour, Great Captain, if I can, so I can make it a podcast and we can do this. Um, Once again, the folks in the audience here, if the Trumplefucks try to engage you or try to argue with you, don't. I know it's tempting, but don't do it. Just let them sit. Great Captain is doing what he can to block and mute them, but by all means, just let them go. Don't talk to them. Bejeweled Swifty, I think that Trump will be so deflated that his supporters will not know what to do with themselves. Yeah, I think after this debate, there's going to be a shift in attitude in Donald Trump. He's thinking he's going to go there and look good, and he's going to come out looking very badly. And this is going to be hard for his ego. So I don't know that this is a good situation for Donald Trump. I mean, he's got a pretty fragile emotional state right now. He's not able to keep it together. He's not able to stay on track when he's talking. It's steadily going to get worse. And that's why I've said that at some point between now and November, he may not be able to be the nominee by way of mental or physical breakdown. We'll see what happens. Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup tonight. Nice going. You got to understand, I'm in Minnesota, the state of hockey. Hockey's big in Minnesota. I've had some friends that played pro hockey and on the Olympic team in '80. So I'm a big hockey fan. So congratulations to the Panthers. It's weird to me that a Florida team would win the Stanley Cup, but it's progress. Is Congress still going to question Jared Kushner? Well, they asked him to. We'll see if he shows up. And if he doesn't show up, they should give him a contempt of Congress. Molly says, I think young people would at least like to know they're heard. Yeah, but here's the thing about that. A lot of elderly people, old people like me say, oh, nobody's listening to me. And before I started on TikTok, I could honestly have said that. Who am I? Nobody listens to me. You got to make the effort. You got to step out. You got to talk, and you got to talk to people, and you got to have the confidence and the courage to speak your mind. That's hard for a lot of folks. Some folks can't do it because of where they work or their family. But if you want to be heard, you got to fucking talk, and you got to talk in the right way. You got to be honest and straightforward. All right, what do we got going here? Great Captain is hustling his butt, trying to keep the Trumplafucks at bay. Nisi says he shouldn't be the nominee now. He's a felon. Why don't they pull the ticket on that crazy guy? To be perfectly honest with you, if somebody was going to pull a nominee, it may be the Republicans because they know he can't win. The only problem with the Republicans possibly pulling Donald Trump as nominee, it's going to fuck them for the down ballot stuff. Because the people who normally vote for Donald Trump, if you take him off the nomination, they just won't vote at all. And then all the representatives, the senators, the legislators in the state, the governors, they won't get those votes either. The Republicans are in a bad situation. They know they can't win with Donald Trump, but they need him in order to get their votes. Why are the Republicans so afraid of Trump? I don't know. They're just gutless cowards. How do you debate a wild bucking bronco when he constantly changes subjects? You don't. You stick him a couple times with the facts that'll drive him and get him unhinged, and then you just speak your piece. Tell your story. Send your message. Don't you don't want to get into it with them because that's what they want. You want to stay calm and just keep jabbing. Uh, Drummond West says, I think Biden is going to wipe the floor with Trump in the debate. Trump can't debate. No, Trump can't debate. Remember, Joe Biden debated him before in 2020 and won easily. So it's not like it's gotten better for Donald Trump or worse for Joe Biden. Uh, Ray Captain has suggested something, and I'm going to pass it along too. I want to remind folks I do a Rational Boomer podcast every night. It's about an hour, hour and a half. We talk about all the things that are going on. We have a lot more time to expand on that situation, on the situations. Oftentimes, I will have listeners as guests. If you're a listener of the Rational Boomer podcast, all you have to do is um, send me an email at rationalboomer@gmail.com. Tell me you want to be a guest, and we'll set it up. We do a lot of emails. I like input from the listeners because I think it's important. And if you want to find the Rational Boomer podcast, it's very, very simple. There's an audio version and a video version. The video version is on YouTube. Go to YouTube and search Rational Boomer, or you can go to rationalboomer.com. There's a list of all the links to wherever I'm at, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or the podcast, the audio podcast. But I do encourage you to check it out because the show, I've done over 1,200 shows. So it's not like this is a new thing. I've been doing this a long time. And over time, it's kind of evolved and developed and become a pretty good show. It's pretty straightforward and direct. It's not fancy, but it gets the information you need. Let's see here. I love the train wreck that call Trump's. He's very dirty and crazy. Thank you, Boomer, for the great job. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm so glad I happened upon this. You are my people. Well, you are my people, and I appreciate you showing up. Anyone who votes for Trump are haters of women. I agree. This is what you have to understand. The Republicans and Donald Trump are at war against women. Women make up 50% of this country. If you are a woman or support women, you don't fucking do that. I would love to see Florida turn blue. I would love that too. I can't wait till Florida is put back in proper condition. It's a beautiful state, a great place to go for vacation, but the climate there, and I'm not talking about the weather, the political climate makes it very difficult. Rain, let's see here. Rain Doug, I'm a Canadian. I listen to the podcast. I got a lot of Canadians that listen. Not sure why, but I appreciate it immensely. I got people in Australia, people in Ireland, people in Jamaica. It's interesting how many people from around the world that listen. Firefly says, you're not my number one favorite TikTok creator. Well, those are lofty words, and I appreciate it. There are a lot of people that do good work out on TikTok. And if I'm your favorite, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Where is Trump's wife? That's a good question. Where is Melania? She didn't show up to court. She didn't wish him happy birthday. You don't see her anywhere. Um, that is troubling. I watch all your videos and thank you for your informative videos. So Shanna Rose, thank you, Shoshana. I love your term Trumplifux. I use it often. Yeah. I just made that up. This just came off the top of my head one day. And it's funny, I had this elderly woman send me an email and she says, Mr. Rational Boomer, I need to know how to spell Trumplifux. I said, I said, why? I mean, there's really no official spelling. I'll tell you what I think when I try to spell it out is Trumplafus. She goes, okay, good. I said, why do you need to do that? She says, well, I do a lot of postings on Facebook and I just want to spell it properly. I've seen a lot of variations of it, and it really doesn't matter. It's the thought that counts. Johnny says all blue better get their asses out and vote in mass in November. Otherwise, it'll be 2016 2.0. A lot of people try to compare 2024 with 2016. It's apples and oranges. There's no comparison. Donald Trump isn't the same person as he was in 2016. This country isn't the same country as it was in 2016. We've been through a lot. We've learned a lot. Donald Trump won that election. I'll grant you that. We can't say he didn't cheat, though, so we don't know how legit it is. But don't tell me you're worried about 2024 because of 2016. That's a weak argument. All right. Boomer, you give me hope. Well, I'm glad I can do that. I mean, when I first started doing this, the things I talk about, the way I look at things was really more so to give myself hope. I see a problem or an issue and I try to figure it out as much as I can and understand how it's really going to work. The byproduct of this has always been that people have said to me, "Oh, you give me hope, you talk me off a ledge." I never expected that I would do that, but the fact that I do, I'm very grateful for because if somebody can do something they enjoy that's important to them and they can do others some good, that's a wonderful thing. Joanette or Joette says she's living in West Virginia. Hey, West Virginia. Outhouse says better vote this time blue because if you don't, we won't be voting at all come 4 years from now. Corsos and Kittens. Hey there, my friend. Are we ready to get together for a podcast? Yeah, I don't know if you've ever watched Corsos and Kittens. I'm sure you have. She's all over the place. Yeah, anytime you want Corsos and Kittens, all you have to do is send me an email at rationalboomer@gmail.com. I can get you on tomorrow if you want. If you want, I think it'd be fun to talk to you. I watch you all the time. We don't know each other, but we're of a like mind. So I think it would be great. So do that. Send me an email, rationalboomer@gmail.com, and we'll work out the times. Typically, I record the podcast around 9 o'clock at night, Central Daylight Time, but I do have some flexibility. So let's do it. Um, Somebody says something's in Ivana's casket. It was way too heavy. Yeah, I've heard people talk about that, and I'm not sure that that's the case. I mean, why would you put it in Ivanka's casket where you can't get it? If it's important to you and it's valuable to you, don't you want to have access to it? I know it's a cool thing to think about, and maybe there is something in there. I'm just not really buying it yet. I've been talking against the Orange Oompa Loompa Trumpy since 2015. You and me both. Um, Johnny says, thank you for reading my comment. There is so many youth 18 to 21 voting for Trump this time around. I don't know that that's true. I think that's just noise coming out of the Republicans. You know, this is what the Republicans do. They say, oh, they're going to get rid of Joe Biden. They want to create that chaos and uncertainty. Oh, all the young people are voting for Donald Trump. They want to create the chaos and uncertainty. I think it's a bunch of bullshit, to be perfectly honest with you. Um, let's see here. I think several red states could flip blue, and some deep red states will be closer than expected. I was talking to somebody who is a conservative, and I made a prediction. I don't usually make predictions per se. If I do, it's all based on facts. It's a calculated decision, it's a calculated risk. I've said that Joe Biden, if he's going against Donald Trump, he will win by a greater margin than any other presidential candidate in history. This is going to be a bad day for Donald Trump. He's going to lose in a landslide. And I only say that because the facts would dictate that. um, I'm shocked at how many people I know that are still MAGA, shocked and disappointed. Yeah, I'll give people who voted for Donald Trump a break in 2016 because we don't know what we didn't know what we didn't know. But since 2016 up to this point in 2024, after all you've seen, after all you've heard, if you're still supporting Donald Trump, you're either stupid or evil or both. And there's no excuse for it. Any thoughts on Wait a minute here. Any thoughts on? Hold on. Somebody was asking about Jill Stein. Now, the Jill Stein, she's a non-factor. I don't think it's really bad. I don't think it's a big deal. Um, from time to time here on TikTok, I will get Trumplefucks coming, and they will say they will give me insults and do all that sort of stuff. And I just want them to know there's two things that come out of that. First of all, I think it's hilarious because you're not very bright. And if that's the best you got, well, I'm sorry for you. You can't come with any facts or truth or anything like that. You can't even comprehend it. So I'm not as worried about what you have to say. Say whatever you want. I don't fucking care because you know what? You show me who you are, and then you get blocked shortly after. I've spent months and months and years blocking um, Trumplefucks constantly. And so, hold on again. I get this every time. Right about the 55 point, I get this comment that said, we've seen inactivity. Your live is going to end here in the next, hold on. Your live is going to end in 4.5 minutes. That's what they do because of inactivity. I don't know. I've been pretty active here. So then they put up this little puzzle, and you've got to take this puzzle piece and pull it over and fit it in the spot, and then they start it back up again. If Biden takes Texas and Ohio, the election night might actually destroy Trump for good. I think the election night is going to destroy Donald Trump for good. It's going to destroy MAGA, and Republicans are going to be standing there with their mouth agape and their least impressive appendage in their hand, and they're going to have to decide what to do next, and they won't know. Do you think Trump's VP pick will make a difference? No. Everybody's excited. Who's the VP? Who fucking cares? There's nobody that could be a VP candidate that's compelling. None of them can help him. None of them can even hurt him because he's in such bad shape. This may be big news for Trumplefucks. This may be big news for Donald Trump. Give a fuck who he gets as a vice president. It ain't going to work. Um, yeah, I'm not too worried about MAGA or the Trumplefucks. They do everything they can to sabotage themselves. Isn't it weird that he hasn't picked a VP yet? No, it's not weird because he's an ulterior motive to this. He likes the whole mystery of it all. He likes continuing having all these people kiss his ass up until the last moment. He likes the idea of having his options open so he can use that in fundraising. Oh, we like this guy. Here, we'll give you money. He's just playing a game. It doesn't matter who he picks. He's not going to win, and no vice presidential candidate is going to help him to do that. Somebody says he likes attention. Yeah, that's what it's all about. Donald Trump's whole life is about getting attention. That's all he wants. That's all he needs. He'd rather get attention than make any points. That's why he always talks about ratings and people that come to the rallies. Let's see here. The debate is going to destroy Trump. Trump will not show up, and if he does, it isn't going to go well. Yeah, there was a time when I thought he wouldn't show up, and he still might not. I mean, that would probably be the wise choice. Better to be thought of as a pussy ass bitch than get his ass kicked on national television on all networks. But Donald Trump's not a bright man. Everything he does to harm himself, and he doesn't even realize it. So I don't know for sure if he's going to show up. I hope he does, though, because that might put a nail in the coffin for Donald Trump. Fifi Hill says, I love you for speaking out. Thank you. Thank you. I've always been kind of that way. And when I found TikTok as a platform and it worked out for me, I was grateful to have the opportunity. I know there are a lot of people out there that don't have the willingness or the opportunity to speak out because they have a boss or a company that will stop them from doing it. Family will do it. They don't have the platform to do it, or they just don't feel comfortable doing it. Fortunately, I don't have a boss. My family knows better than to tell me what I can and can't do. And beyond that, I don't give a fuck. I don't mind people calling me names. I don't really mind because they are inconsequential to me. And somebody's got to speak up and speak out, and I'm happy to do it. I don't know what kind of impact I have, but at least I'll do the best I can with what I have available. 34 guilty charges. Why is Donald Trump on the ballot? Well, that's a good question. A lot of people ask that. It's because in the Constitution, it doesn't say a convicted felon can't run for president. That's all it is. If it said it in the if it said it in the Constitution, then he wouldn't. But it's not, and it's a loophole. Let's see here. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts, Katrina. Well, thank you for joining me and thank you for listening to those thoughts. I mean, without you folks listening, my thoughts don't mean shit. Uh, Trump is going to win the Olympic gold medal in rake stepping this year. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Ocean Springs says they don't realize Project 2025 will actually affect them, Social Security and other benefits. Yeah. 2025 is bullshit. It's a manifesto of some crazy fuck that wrote it. And the fact of the matter is that it's not going to ever happen. Um, uh, let's see here. It's funny the comments drop out for a minute and then they come back. At least I hope they come back. I'm not seeing them anyway. This is a good time for me to remind you that we have the Rational Boomer podcast. It's on every day. Just go to rationalboomer.com. There are links to all my places online. You can get an audio version of the podcast, or you can get the video version of the podcast on YouTube. But I implore you to at least check it out. Hi from Kentucky. We have healthcare workers. Love you. Thank you. Love you guys too. Trump will eventually run to another country like a pussy ass bitch. I've heard people say that, and I'm not sure he can. First of all, he can't hide. Everybody knows who he is around the world. Secondly, if he runs from the law, he has a problem. He's being guarded by the Secret Service. The Secret Service is a law enforcement arm. If he leaves the country and they let him leave the country, they're in fucking trouble. They're in the hook. They could go to jail as an accessory after the fact. So if they're going to let Donald Trump leave the country, they better go with him because they're in trouble too. Um, he can't get the highest security clearance. Yeah, as a convicted felon, he's not qualified for getting clearance of any kind. So how's that going to be? You're going to have a president of the United States that can't get any security clearance? Please. I mean, this is all pretty ridiculous that we are even arguing about this. I really honestly believe that when we get to the point um, of election night, people are going to finally say, Jesus Christ, this isn't even close. Why did we worry about this? And this is the important thing people have to remember. Most people worry about things that are never going to happen. They struggle, they strain, and they have all kinds of difficulties because they're worried. But then it never happens. And then they're just relieved that it didn't happen. Well, the fact of the matter is, it's horrible that you wasted the time worrying about something that wasn't necessarily something to worry about. Laura J. Nick says, I love your brutal honesty. Thank you. A lot of people don't feel comfortable with brutal honesty. TJ the Plumber said, listen to Rational Boomer podcast on Spotify. You can talk to TJ the Plumber. He's been a guest on the show. He's going to be a guest on the show again. You can be a guest on the show if you're a listener, and I encourage you to do that. What do you think about Trump not taking a court mandated drug test? Well, it sounds to me like he's got something to hide. We've heard that he might take Adderall, maybe cocaine. His his emotions and his physical state are up and down. He shows the signs of a drug addict. Um, I think what's going to happen is at some point before the sentencing, he's going to have to take that drug test, and I don't know if he will, and I don't know what happens if he doesn't. Theoretically, he would go to jail goes against um, if he goes against the court order. Analytical Iowan. That's Eric from Iowa. He is a guest all the time. And like he says, being a guest is easy. It's not hard. We just come on and we talk. That's all it is. It's a conversation. Um, I so hope you're right. Thanks very much. Um, what do you think about the upcoming election in 2024? I'm afraid for Biden. I kind of talk about that a lot. Joe Biden will win easily over Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't have a fucking prayer. Boomer, have you heard of Hawk on TikTok? He's good. He doesn't like Trump or his potato followers. Yeah, I know who Hawk is. I don't know him personally. I've never talked to him, but I do watch him. I think he's a smart guy. He's a lawyer. So a lot of legal aspects I get from him. I get a lot of interesting points from him. Yeah, I know who Hawk is. Um, let's see here. One of your former guests is now a Trump supporter. Really? Who would that be? I know there's a former Trump supporter that was a guest on the show that now is a Biden supporter, interestingly enough. But there is somebody who was on the show that's now a Trump supporter and wasn't when they were on the show. I find that hard to believe. Please tell me who it is. Email me, tell me who it is. Rationalboomer@gmail.com. The Republicans say Biden will drop out soon. Not going to happen. They might like that to happen because they know they can't beat Joe Biden. They're hoping somebody worse comes in or they cause confusion with the Democratic Party. I mean, here's the problem the Republicans have. Biden has a lot of money. They have a lot of organization, and they're going to destroy Donald Trump and the Republicans. They wish, um, um, they wish that they could get him to drop out, but it's not going to happen. Jeff HVAC is now a Biden supporter. He is a Biden supporter. You might, I don't know if you guys all know who he is, but I had a guy on my podcast, Jeff HVAC. He was a adamant Trump supporter, and I had him on the show. It didn't go well for him, um, but now he's a Biden supporter. And guess what his new name on TikTok is? His new nickname is Rational Debater. Oh, wow. I wonder where he got that from. Craig Humphrey, attorney, says Trump will lose his cool at the debate. That's inevitable. He will lose his cool. Would you go on Tom Powell's podcast? I know who Tom Powell is. I have a lot of respect for Tom Powell. If you asked me to go on the podcast, sure, I'd go on the podcast, but I don't know Tom Powell. I've never talked to him. I just talked to him and told him he has integrity. Boomer, how are you so certain that Trump will lose? I hope you're correct. Well, as I've told you before, impeached twice, 34 felony convictions. He overturned Roe v. Wade. 75% of this country supports Roe v. Wade. That's a pretty critical thing. This is about women's constitutional rights, their bodily autonomy. It's about their very survival and their health and welfare. 75% of the people support Roe v. Wade. He embraces the idea that he's responsible for overturning it for just that one reason. He doesn't have a fucking prayer. Trump will not answer a question during the debate. He will ramble. Yeah. And it will be confusing because he'll go off on tangents and everybody will go, holy fuck, this guy's nuts. What'll happen in this debate is exactly what happened when he was talking to these CEOs. They went in there thinking they liked Trump, and when they came out, they go, Jesus Christ, this guy's nuts. Um, right wing keeps pushing the Ashley Biden diary. Who the fuck cares? That never went anywhere. Joe Biden's impeachment never went anywhere. The fact that he alleged to take a bribe, that never went anywhere. See, they never have facts or witnesses or truth. They just like to throw shit out there to try to cause some problems and see if something sticks. Best part is when Trump does lose the election, Fox News and Newsmax will have to call it. Do you think if Michelle Obama ran, do you think she could beat Trump? I think any Republican or any Democrat could beat Donald Trump at this point. Any Democrat. Michelle Obama, everybody wants her to run for president or whatever. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Why would she? She's got a pretty good life right now. She doesn't have to get into that fucking mess. Let's see here. On the debate, Trump will be gibberish, talking a whole lot, nothing come out of his mouth. Yep. Well, that's pretty much the way it is all the time anyway. No one can understand a fucking thing he says. So that's what I can expect. 38% are in a cult. Yeah, I don't even think it's 38%. I'm thinking it's more between 25 and 30%. They talk big, but there they're really a joke. Patty says because he didn't do it, he isn't in jail. He did his parole officer meeting on his computer. He was convicted. He was convicted, and he still may go to jail. So I love how people will say, well, he's going to appeal it. It's not a conviction until he's appealed it. No, that's not true. Donald Trump is currently and always will be a convict. That's who he is. Bumble 1000 says, love that I caught you live. I love the fact that you did. Kimber in PA says, I apologize if you already talked about this, but today's headline said Trump is ahead in PA. Don't listen to polls. Polls are bullshit. Like I said before, polls predicted Hillary Clinton would win in 2016. They predicted Donald Trump would win in 2020. They predicted a red wave in 2022. None of that shit happened. Polls have agendas, and the people who own those polls have agendas. They're going to make them say whatever they want them to say. The media is going to talk about it because it makes it more of a tight race. So everybody watches with bated breath. It's not even going to be close. Honestly, it's not even going to be fucking close in this election. I wouldn't have said this 6 or 8 months ago, but with all that's happened, logic and facts just tell you otherwise. It's just, he doesn't have a prayer. Like I say, he is the absolute worst presidential candidate in the history of this country. Absolutely. The worst. We've never had a candidate that's been convicted of any crimes, let alone 34 crimes. We've never had one that was impeached twice. We've never had somebody that attempted a coup. We've never had somebody that overturned Roe v. Wade. All these things work against Donald Trump. The vast majority of people in this country don't agree with him, don't like that. In 2020, we had an incredible turnout in voters. Joe Biden got 81 million votes. Donald Trump got 74 million votes, more votes than any time in history. Why do you suppose that happened? Because Joe Biden was a great candidate? No, because everybody was scared to death that Donald Trump might be reelected. That's why they showed up and showed out. Guess what? They aren't any less. They are more afraid now than they were in 2020. They see that democracy is on the line. They see that um, the future for our kids and grandkids is on the line. They're scared to death. So we're going to have a huge turnout in the 2024 election. And every time there's a huge turnout, Democrats always win. Um, let's see here. I'm going to be wrapping it up pretty quick. We've gotten a long way with this pretty long time without the Trump fucks trying to take us down. How many votes will Trump lose by? Well, in 2020, he lost by 7 million votes in the popular vote, probably 30 electoral votes. I think at the very least, Joe Biden will double that, maybe 14 million votes. And I don't know how many electoral votes, but he's going to win bigger or lose bigger than he did in 2020. Can't wait to see the silent temper tantrum from Trump on debate night. Oh, yeah. He's going to be pouting and whining and shitting his pants. The one thing we can basically count on, Donald Trump will be the first presidential candidate to shit his pants on national television. So he's got that going for him. Will Supreme Court grant immunity to Trump? No, they won't. They won't grant him immunity. That's crazy. The fact that they took it up and took this long is a travesty, but they aren't going to give him immunity because if they give him immunity, they give Joe Biden immunity. They give every other future president immunity. It's not going to happen. It will take decades to undo what the Republicans have done to this country. Yeah, you make a good point, and that's something I've always said. We've got to get rid of Donald Trump. We've got to eradicate MAGA. And once the Democrats are in control, that doesn't mean we're done. That doesn't mean we're saved. The Republicans buried us in a hole very deeply. We've got a lot of things we've got to fix. We've got to fix Citizens United. We got to codify Roe v. Wade. We've got to fix the Supreme Court. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. We just have to have the opportunity to do that. And the only way we have that opportunity is if Democrats are in control. So after November 5th, a big win would be great. We'll have a big party. And then the next day, we got to get down and get to fucking work. That's what we need to do. Absolutely. All right. We're having some issues with TikTok and the comments and stuff. So this is probably a good time to wrap things up. I want to thank you very much for joining me on the TikTok live. I'm going to try to do this more. I have a great time doing it because I love talking to people and getting input. A lot of smart people out there, and I learn a lot of things when I do these TikToks lives or I get the emails and my podcast. A reminder, check out the Rational Boomer podcast. And you can do that by going to rationalboomer.com. There are links to the audio version of the podcast and the video version of the podcast and everything else I'm doing out here on the internet. So by all means, check it, subscribe to the podcast. That's where we get to talk about things in depth, and you get the opportunity to speak out as well. So you folks have a great night. I appreciate it. And those of you who only got part of this live or want to hear it again for whatever reason, this recording of the live will be tomorrow's podcast. So you'll be able to hear this tomorrow in the podcast form. So by all means, check it out. Thank you all very much. I appreciate you for showing up. It made this thing all worthwhile. And I can sit and talk all day, but if you're not there and you're not participating, it doesn't matter much. So you're absolutely important to what I'm doing here. So you have a great night, and we will talk to you again. We'll talk to you every day on TikTok and on the podcast. So thank you very much. All right. We're done on the live. I appreciate you folks on the podcast being patient with me. But one of the things I like about doing the live and turning it into the podcast, I have a different vibe about me when I'm doing it. I've got the questions coming in and it kind of energizes me, and the show becomes more fast paced. And I kind of like that. That's why I like having the guest, and I like the emails, and I like doing the TikTok live. So I appreciate you bearing with me. Hopefully you like the way the TikTok live podcast work out. I like doing them. Let me know what you think, and we can continue doing it or not continue to do it. So we're going to wrap things up for the Rational Boomer podcast. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you tomorrow.